Hi friends! I am so excited you're here today because I have an epic list of female rage books for you. I took a minute to make this video because I really wanted to have a big list of books for you guys. So I believe I have over 20 books, and they're all extremely different. I have thrillers on here. I have horror, well, of course they're mostly horror, thrillers, horror, some sci-fi, and extreme horror. Of course we have to have some extreme horror for some female rage books. And yeah, I'm looking at the list now. I would say I think it's over 20 on here. So I feel like I have like the classics on here, but I also have, oh, there's some historical on here as well. So a little bit of everything, and yeah, let's get right into it because it is an epic list. But first I wanted to talk about some female rage movies. No, not female rage movies necessarily, but just some feminist horror movies that came out this year that are new, because I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, the new horror movies that have come out this year, my three favorites are actually written and directed by women, and they tell very different, unique feminist stories, and I was just like, such a good year for horror. Of course, Lisa Frankenstein that came out this year is a horror comedy that had my heart, and it's fantastic, and it has such good messaging in it, and I absolutely loved it. And then of course The First Omen. Like, who thought The First Omen would go that hard? This is a prequel to the Omen franchise. I did not think it would go that hard, but you know, it was written and directed by a woman, so duh. And then of course The Substance, which has kind of taken the horror community by storm. I don't want to say by storm because that's really cheesy, but I love seeing all the love for this movie because I absolutely loved it. I thought it was hilarious and so fun and creative, and the body horror, magnificent. So I was thinking about that and I was like, well, if you've read every single book on this list, you can go watch those movies if you haven't, because they're absolutely fantastic and tell great feminist stories. So yeah, let's get into it now. Starting off with The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This was one of my favorite reads this year. It is a coming of rage story, and boy oh boy, look up triggers for this one. Look up triggers for our content warnings as well for all of these, because they go there. There is racism and misogyny in this one that just made me so mad, but it has such a great ending. Then one that I read very recently is Bloom by Delilah Dawson. This is a female serial killer book. It's also like a romance, sapphic romance book, and the romance in this was actually quite cute at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is cute. Okay, I don't typically like romance, but when it started getting into the darker stuff in this book, I was shocked. So definitely check this one out if you're looking for a sapphic romance with cannibalism. And then Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crawley. This is a YA horror book, but it has such great female characters in this. The main character is so powerful and fun and doesn't take any shit, and she kind of reminds me of a younger me. That's why I connected to this book so much, but it is perfect to read in fall. It has those fall vibes. I believe it does take place on Halloween, but it still has those like northeastern fall vibes. There's ghost, there's really funny dialogue, and it has such a great arc. And then Mary by Nate Cassidy. Boy oh boy, this book is a bit longer, but it really goes there with the female rage. We follow an older woman who is ignored through her whole life pretty much by society, which is so true. In our society, we do ignore older women, and just the rage she starts feeling of not being heard or seen, and it takes a turn. There's a lot going on in this. Without spoiling anything, honestly, go in pretty blind. But I will say one of my favorite lines in this, and I think about it a lot, I believe it has something on the lines of, "I will tear your fucking soul apart," quote, Mary. And then one I never see talked about in the female rage category, probably because it was written in the 80s by a man, and you don't typically think about female rage from the 80s, but it's Bethany's Sin by Robert R. McCammon, and this is about a town of women, women-run town, pretty much. Every powerful position in the town is a woman, and this guy moves to the town, and he's like, "What's up with all these women?" And sure, he's crappy, you don't like him, but you find out why, and you find out what they do when men don't listen to them, and it's fantastic, and I really enjoyed this one. And then another one I read really recently is Out by Natsu Kirino. This is a Japanese crime thriller, and I honestly did not think I would love this one as much as I did. I really fell for these characters. Like, these characters, oh, they spoke to me. We follow 4 women who are really going through it, the isolation, the loneliness, the hopelessness, and they just are trying to get out. And one of them might have accidentally killed her husband, but you know what? They're gonna support each other. It's fantastic. It is a slow crime thriller burn, but it gets so gnarly. It's so worth it, and just the characters in this are so good. It's fantastic. Definitely check it out if you haven't. And then another recommendation, Goddess of Filth by V. Castro. This is about a group of girls who are graduating high school, and they decide to have a seance, and one of their friends isn't quite acting the same afterwards. It's a possession story, but with a twist, and boy oh boy is there some vengeance in this. I absolutely loved where this one ended up going, and it was so gross and wonderful. And then kind of switching things up into more of an extreme horror area, The Perfect Victim by David Sodergren. I honestly thought of this one when I thought of this video because it's a narrative that is flipped on itself. This is about a girl who is kidnapped by a bunch of idiots, and what she does to get out of there is fantastic. She is so conniving, and she is like a mean girl, kind of. She takes on a mean girl aspect, and I absolutely love it. There's also a pain destruction scene in this that I totally have forgotten about. David Sodergren, I think, is the author with the most pain destruction. If you don't know what that is, it is a it's what it sounds like. It's that area of men being destroyed. I feel like there's one in like every other one of his books, and this one does not hold out either. It is violent, it's funny, and it has that female rage in it. And staying with the extreme horror, Full Brutal by Christopher Triana follows a cheerleader who is very, very angry and is a total psychopath, and being inside of her head is a bit worrisome for yourself afterwards. You're like, oh, okay, because you're kind of rooting for her, but you see where she comes from for the most part, but not really. Towards the end, she kind of goes off the rails, but you're like, okay, I mean, I get it, you know. Then Chainsaw Hooker by Judith Sonnet, another extreme horror masterpiece. I had so much fun with this one too. As you can tell from the cover and the title, somebody's out for some revenge, okay? And it gets gnarly, and it's fantastic. This is a novella. You can read it really fast, and it is a blast. It's a fun blast. Sounds so wrong, but it really is. Bittersweet Chocolate by C.M. Gutierrez. I had so much fun with this one. This is a very short novella as well, about a woman who finds out her husband has been cheating on her, and she takes things into her own hands and makes some chocolate of her own. That's all I'm going to say, but yeah, fantastic. And then of course I have to talk about the iconic Maeve Fly by C.J. Leedy. I absolutely love this book. I'm a huge fan of this author, especially since American Rapture. But this is like American Psycho, but make it girly, but make it cool girly. Like, this Mayfly is a cool girl. She loves like old music and Halloween, lives in LA, has a cool job, you know, all of the things. But yeah, she also loves killing. And then the next one, I don't really see a ton of people talk about a ton, I guess, since it came out, and that is Mother Thing by Ansley Hogarth. This is a bit of a slow burn to get to that female rage, but it is like, it's boiling. Like, she's on simmer the whole time. This main character, oh my gosh, she's so neurotic, like, but you understand in a way, and then she just has like a total breaking point, and it's so satisfying. It is so satisfying. It's kind of like Carrie, honestly. A lot of these books are inspired by Carrie, but it's like, you know, when Carrie goes off, right? She cannot really control herself at that point. She's seeing everybody as like, you know, her taunters. And that kind of happens in this one, and I've never seen the comparison to Carrie before, but really this main character is trying so hard to be a perfect woman and to fit in a box, basically, and she does think she's being haunted by her mother-in-law. But yeah, I really thought of this one as female rage too, because it just this is how female rage is expressed, I feel like, in real life. So it hits close. An OG female rage story. I'm giggling because I'm thinking about the time I saw this movie in theaters in a packed theater where there were a lot of men in that theater. And you know what? They seemed very scared. And that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I love the book. I love the movie. No notes. Fantastic. If you don't know, the premise of this is about a woman who kidnaps her, or who fakes her own kidnapping. And let's just leave it at that, because if you haven't heard about it, it's so good. And then My Sister, the Serial Killer by Okana Braithwaite. I absolutely love this. It was hilarious. It's so funny. It is, the premise is the title. It is the sister helping her sister out, you know, with bodies. You know, you got no body, no crime, cleaning up the mess. It's absolutely hilarious, and you're just like, I don't know, I loved it. It's very short too, and such a fun, like, thriller. Another classic thriller I feel like that is on all the female rage lists is They Never Learned by Lane Fargo. This is a serial killer, female serial killer situation, but you know, she's like Dexter. Let's just put it at that. Then one I read very recently too, The Collective by Alison Galen. This is kind of the same thing. Female killers, but they're very organized and they're everywhere, and everybody is a part of the collective. So you better watch out. And then some like more literary leaning female rage books. I know everybody talks about my year of rest and relaxation. I don't really see that as a rage book. That's just like a not participating kind of book. But I think Animal by Lisa Taddeo is such a great literary, there is horror in it, but it's more literary for me, book about female rage and having such a great character where you understand completely. You understand, and you know, kind of with Mother Thing, like trying to fit in a box and trying to be somebody you're not, and how it can come out in other ways. Let's just say that. I'm laughing because I'm nervous. Then Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I think this one leans more literary for me, even though it goes pretty horrific. What happens in this? We follow a photographer, a female photographer who likes to take pictures of unique looking men, not traditionally like handsome men, and kind of like her obsession, like a bit of an obsession, like a bit of power hungry is what I would call it. Very interesting, very fast-paced, and I'm excited to read more from this author. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This is a interesting story. It's so unique. There is a body horror in it. There's cults in it, or a cult in it. We're following a woman who is leaving a cult, and she has 2 young twin children with her, and then some body horror that she's experiencing. This book is so good, and it's written in such a unique way. You guys know I love River Solomon's writing. They write so luscious. It's like a nerd's dream, the writing in this book, and it's a very powerful story. I forget the main character's name, but she's a badass. And a couple of historical books. Forgotten Sisters by Cynthia Palaio. I read this book earlier this year, and it is about 2 sisters that are living in like a bungalow off of the Chicago River, I believe. And it has like a lot of like city atmosphere vibes going on in this, but also haunted house vibes. But oh yeah, men are mysteriously disappearing around the river in their area. And that's all I'm going to say about this one, because I really liked the slow burn mystery of it. There is a detective POV in this, so if you don't like that, you might not, this might not be the book for you, but I really like the detective's point of view as well, and getting the main character's point of view. So yeah, this was a fun ride. And In the Garden of Spite by Camilla Bruce. This is about, is it Belle Guinness, the America's first female serial killer? I don't think she's the first. She might be the second. That's just me personally. I think Lavinna Fisher possibly, but I don't think she actually did the killing. I think she was just like in the wrong place, wrong time. Anyways, that's just my personal historical female serial killer opinion. But this is a fictional historical book based off of Belle Guinness, who had a lot of husbands that ended up dead. But this tells a different story, like a different point of view of that. Like, why did these men end up dead, pretty much, you know what I mean? Yeah. Of course, I have to talk about Queen of Teeth by Haley Piper. This book is the repercussions of what happens when the government controls your body. That is all I'm going to say, and it is not good for anybody. So yeah, it's fantastic. It is about also a woman who notices there's teeth down there, so hence the title. And I have one of the OG covers. I mean, I like the other cover, the new cover too, but I absolutely love this cover so much. But if you're looking for a book that will hit very close to home, check out this one. But it has such a great ending. It's fantastic. Almost forgot a book I read this year, So Witches We Became by Jill Baguncini-Ski. This is a YA book about, well, let's just put it, it's a YA book, but it is kind of like that book The Mist, or the movie The Mist by Stephen King, but it's like girl power or feminist. Yeah. Because I won't get into like all of what it's about, just know that. How about that? Then I have to talk about Sister Maiden, Monster by Lucy A. Snyder. This is about 3 different women who basically end up coming together during the cosmic horror apocalypse, and it being up to them to kind of solve it. And oh my gosh, I absolutely loved this. It is a pandemic book, so just a heads up about that if you don't want to read about a pandemic. It's very pandemic heavy, and I think that's what turned a lot of people off of this book. Also, one of the characters is a monster, and I could see it being very uncomfortable for people reading a female monster this way. But yeah, fantastic. It reads super fast. I think I did the audio for it, and it just blew me away this year. I'm done. I think I talked about everything. So I'm like, did I? Yes, I did. There's all the feminist, female rage horror that I could think of. There's a lot more out there. There's definitely more that I will be reading. And you guys leave your recommendations down below, please, if you have any. You guys know I'm always looking for good recs. And if you've read all of these here, definitely check out those movies. And if you've watched the movies and you've read all the books, then you are my best friend. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and fuck the patriarchy, and keep being angry. Yeah.